Hello everyone, welcome back to the Swift Academy. This is another video of the trending movies application series that we are trying to build it on the MVVM iOS patterns. In the last videos, we learned a lot about how we can delete the sense delegate, how we can delete the main storyboard and create our own main view controller, and also how to getting data from the server that actually the API is ready and provided for you. And also we go through the binding and how we can create our own observable class and passing data through the view model to the main view controller and representing the data. Now we are trying to create these cells, UIs, and also the cell view models that all of them are responsible for the night mode and the light mode. As you can see, when we are changing the light mode to the dark and dark to the light, the view and the cell actually responsive to that. Also, you are going to learn how to pass an array or list of the cell view models to the main view controller and how to present it. So with all that said, let's jump to the code. Now we are going to create the UI for each cell, and also these kind of the cell should be reusable. Maybe later on we are going to use these cells inside our application, inside for example in another table view or view controller. So we have to put it somewhere that we can use it. I created a group here, main movie cell, and underneath of it I'm going to create another Cocoa Touch class that contains the movie table view cell. It should be UI table view cell, main movie cell as the name of the class. Also I'm going to ask Xcode to create the zip file for me too. So hit the next button and create. So all good to go. I'm going to delete this boilerplate code. We don't need that for this actually cell. We have the zip file that we are going to create our UI here, and also we have the class here. So our UI consists of one back view, one image view, and 3 label. And also you can see that there is some rounding and some kind of the borders around the back view as well. So I'm going to first of all create some back view here to having that border shape around our object here. I'm going to make some space here and take a look at what we have here. First of all, the content view, I'm going to make the background clear, and also the main movie, the top cell class, I'm going to make the background color here as well clear, so they are obeying the table view, or if the table view is clear, they are obeying the background of the main view controller. So when we are going to clear the each background, it means that it's going to be obey what else behind it. The content view is necessary for UI table view cell. I'm going to add another UI view here underneath of the content view, adding some constraints. Let me do it by mouse here, to the end, to the end, to the end. But if you see in the real app that we developed it, it has a little kind of the padding. So I'm going to add some paddings around it, 16 on the leading and trailing, and also 8 on the top and bottom. The reason that I put 8 on the top and bottom is that because we are in the table view, and when two cells actually on the top of each other, they are creating again the same padding. So 8 plus 8 gonna be 16. So I'm going to create that here, 8, and then again 16, 16, and 8 here. Adding the constraints, Now we have all the constraints here. This is our back view. I'm going to creating the IB outlets object here, IB outlets, adding the back view and call it this view as a back view. Okay, what else we need here? We need a UI image view. So I'm going to add the UI image view very quickly here, so you don't want to actually wasting your time. Now we have the UI image view here. It needs some padding as well. I'm going to add 8 and also 2 and 2, or maybe a little bit more, 5 and 5 at the top and bottom. But for the width and height, I'm going to assume that they are not square. So for example, this ratio is okay. I'm just keeping that thingy, but as the aspect ratio is same. So whenever we actually changing the height of the cell, this kind of the image view is going to be changed according to the height of the cell, because we click on the aspect ratio. So what else we have here? We need some kind of the labels for the name, and also 2 other label here for the score and release date. So for the label, I'm just clicking on the control button and put it on the image view, click on the top because I want it to be aligned to the top of the UI image view. And also for padding to the image view, 7.5 is okay, but for the right side I'm going to add 8 here. So but then it's gonna be the name of the movie. So the name of the movie, it's gonna be more than 1 line. I'm going to assign it 3 lines of the code here. Then also I can change the font here. I'm going to make it as the maybe title 2, and yeah, that's gonna work for us. Then what else we have? The release date, it's going to be system 17 number. Is it okay for us now? Then we have the label, and for the label I'm going to use another font here. I'm going to use as the subhead, a little bit smaller than that one. So, or maybe what else we have here? Headline. Okay, that's gonna work for us. I'm going to align the bottom label to the bottom of the image, and also the padding, so it should be the same as the name, 7.5, and on the right it's going to be 8. So how about this one? This one related to the release date. I'm going to add the same padding and just 8 above that and 8 from the right side. So that's gonna be date, that's gonna be rate. So now let's connect all these IB outlets there. We have the image view, I call it movie image view. Then we have the name label. Then we have the date label, and also we have the rate label. So as you can see, we just add all the things that we need and create all the UIs that we want here now. So let's go to the code again and bring back the simulator and see what else we have. As you can see, the back view has round corners and also has a border. This is the things that when the a cell created that should be somehow shaped. Okay, we can use the layer here. So backview.layer.border color, it should be kind of the CG color. So UI color dot for example label.cg color. Label is kind of the color that iOS actually supports for the dark and light mode. So this is our border color, and also backview.layer.border width is gonna be for example 1. Then we need to make it round, so backview.layer. Again corner radius, it's going to be 10. As you can see, our image has a little bit corner radius as well. So movie image view dot layer again dot corner radius is going to be 5. But let me show you something here. We are doing all these things now inside the own Evecrom nib file, and we are doing a lot of codes here. What for example, if you are in the app trying to again bordering a view, you have to write these codes as well again and again. This is where the extensions is going to be handy. So I'm going to create an extensions here and call it as UI view extension. So extension UI view, and because it's the UI key, it will be automatically added on the top. Then we need two functions here. One is going to be round, because we want to make our view round, and it's going to be getting a radius number. It's going to be CG float, and I'm going to make it a default value like 10. And it means that all that codes that we put there, we can just simply put in here. So self.corner radius is going to be radius, and also one more thing that we can add here, self.clip to bounds. I'm going to make it true to make sure that okay, it's going to be rounded completely as I expected. And other one is function.add border, border. It needs two things. One is color, that it's going to be the UI color, and the other one is the width. It's going to be CG float again. So self.layer.border width is going equaling to the width, and self.layer.border color, it's going to be color.cg color. So it's changing the or converting to the CG color from here. So I'm not actually forcing to do it wherever I want to use it. So coming back to our cell design, we can just simply get rid of all these codes and just say, for example, for the border, backview.add border that we just created there, I'm going to give it the color. It should be a UI color that, for example, label that we talk about it, and the width is going to be 1, and also we need it to be rounded in the corners. So backview.round, and you can see it has two ones, one optional and the other one. This is the default one. It's going to be using the 10 that we used that, and also the corner radius for the image view. I'm going to make it round and just adding the 5 here. Coming back to the cell, what else we need to designing our cells here now? So we need now we're designing the UI. Now we need to set up our cell. So we need a function called setup cell, and it is going to getting the view model of our cell. So we need a view model. I'm going to call it as the movie table cell view model. The view model for our cell here, and inside the view model I'm going to create a new file, Swift file, the file name, and create the class for it. So this is our view model cell, and we are going to put whatever we need for our cell here. So each cell needs some data inside it. For example, we need the image URL, we need the title, we need the date, also we need the rating system. And remember that this is the view model, so all the logic should be happening here. The cell itself should just presenting the data. One thing that I'm going to add here, some parameters, is ID. Maybe it should has the ID of the movie. The other one is the title. The title of the movie, it is going to be a string. And also we need the date here. I'm going to assuming that's the string because later on it's going to be consumed inside the label. And also we need the rating. I'm going to put it as a string again as well. And the last one is the image URL. The image URL that we are going to pass, it should be a part of the URL and it should be optional. But we need an initializer here now for our cell view model, and our initializer going to get the movie data and then initialize all the variables that we need inside our cell view model. So first of all, we need our ID, self.id equal to movie.id. Then we need the title, date, rating, and image URL. Self.title equal to movie.name, or if you remember, we have some issues with the title of the JSON file or the name of the movies, so we can use the same mechanism later on. If you want, you can add some sort of the classes or handlers or helpers to solve this issue in your entire app, but now we can use the same function here. So now we need the rating, self.rating equal to movie dot vote average or vote count, but it's coming from the 10, so because of that I'm going to actually shape it in this way, inside the string and adding a 10 at the end of it. And also we need the self dot date, it should be movie dot release date, and this is the same thing happening with the title and the name, because sometimes it doesn't have the release date, it just have the first air date. We're just going to use the movie dot first air date, and if it's not there we are going to passing the empty string as well. For the image URL, self.image URL, we need to make the image URL. You remember that at the beginning I told you, and if you check the documentation of that website, the image server is different than the JSON or API server. So I'm going to create a function called make image URL inside our view model that just getting the path of the image and returning back the image URL here. So let me create this function. It should be private because it is just useful inside this cell view model, but because entire application need that, again you can use another helper function or another helper classes to create or generate some kind of the functions that will be available to you for entire application. And the parameter is image code that you are getting it from the server. It is a kind of the string, and in the return it is need to returning back an optional URL here. So we are going to create our own URL here from the string, and you remember that from the network constants we have the network constant class. It is a singleton, and we already had the image server address there, so adding the image server address, and at the end of that we have to have our image code, and it is going to generate the URL for us. This is just reading at us because we didn't pass the movie dot poster path, and if it is empty we are going to just passing the empty string. As you can see, this is the cell view model that we just create here, and this cell view model, all the logics happening inside the cell is here, like for example this rating thingy, or if this some data is missing, if creating the make image URL. The cell itself doesn't responsible for any of those. So now we have our own view model. We can create our cell and add all objects there. So for example, for the title we can just self dot the name label dot text is going to be equal to ViewModel dot title, self dot date label dot text is going to be ViewModel dot date, self dot rate label dot text is going to be ViewModel dot rating. As you can see, we are not actually caring about how is the rating system is working. Cell just presented. And for the view, for the image view that we are going to use here, we need sort of the mechanism to get the image and present it and then cache it, to not actually loading the image a lot. There's a lot of actually packages there, dependency injection there that you can use. We are going for this project using the SDWeb image, and it is kind of the good Swift package that we are going to use for loading the image here. So this is the SDWeb image written in Swift. It is even useful for the Swift UI. We can use this actually third party to loading the image. It will be caring about the caching part and all the other mechanisms, so you are not going to think about it. It will be available in the Swift package manager and also in CocoaPods. So in your app, just going to the file, and then you can have the add package here. By adding the package, you can actually just pasting the GitHub URL of the package. For example, for the Swift SDWeb image, I'm going to just pasting the GitHub URL of that project and click on the add package. It's going to fetching all the data for us and adding that package to the project. If the package or if that project consists of some sort of other dependency or other kind of the project inside it, it will be ask you which one you want to use. We just need the SDWeb image, so adding the package, it will be automatically added to our project and it's ready to go. So come back to the movie table cell, and then based on what actually the GitHub repository of this package actually describe how to use it. First of all, we have to import it, import SDWeb image. Then we can simply using it like as they describe it, self dot movie image view. Instead of going to equaling the image to something, we can actually do that sd dot set image with, and it's going to asking for the URL ViewModel dot image URL, and that's it. We create our cell. Also, we create our cell view model and passing the data to it. But how we are going to use our cell with this view model. So if we are going back to our main view model, when we getting the data, we are passing the whole movie here. But we don't want to pass the whole movie object. We want to pass the cell view model object, a list of the cell view model. So we can just simply using the movie table cell view model and pass a list of that to our view controller to use it. But how we are going to map it? Because we use the initializer inside that, the initializer just asks for the movie. So we have a function here that maps cell data. As you can see, it's going to yelling at us that cannot convert the movie list to the movie table cell view model. So our cell data source will be a list of the movie table cell view model that we are going to pass it to our main view controller. So we are going to call it self.cellDataSource. It's going to be mapping all the movie object inside our own data source to the movie table cell view model and create a list for us. So it's going to be self.dataSource.results, that a list of the movie, as you can see here, and we are going to using the high order functions called compact map, because the compact map will be get rid of all the unnecessary or nil files that it can be available there. So we can simply use the compact map. It's better. Trying to find out more high order functions inside the Swift, they are so useful. Then we are going to mapping all the those movies to our table cell view model as the parameter that it's going to be an movie object by passing a $0. As you can see, with this compact mechanism that we have here, okay, let me see why it's yelling at me now. We have the data source. Okay, we can actually compare it because we have to change the value here. So the self-cell data source dot value is now going to be a list of the movie table cell view model that mapping each movie to it. Now we are going to change something inside our main view controller as well, because in the main view controller our data source was different for each cells. If we come back here, you can see that we previously used the movie list, but now the cell data source itself is the list of or array of the cell view model. So we have to change it. And one more thing that we have to change here about registering our cells. The important thing about the registering is that if you didn't do that, the app will be crashed. So we need to register our cells here. Come back to the cell. The simplest way and the easiest way that I found to registering the cell inside the table view, and don't mess up with the string name or all the things, is that to put all the variables like identifier and register inside the cell itself as the static variable. For example, I'm going to create a public static variable called identifier as the string, and it's gonna be just a read-only get, and in return we are going to retaining just the main movie cell. And also we need a function here, another public static function. I'm going to call it as the register, and in return it's going to retaining back a UI nib, because in the table view it's going to looking after the UI nib there. UI nib, the nib name, because the file will be the same here, main movie cell, we are using the nib name the same here, and then the bundle will be nib because we are using and all the files in the same bundle. And don't forget that these identifier should be added here inside the identifier of your cell. Click enter and it's added. So now safely we can come back to our table view. In the register cells we can actually doing the register by what we provide in our cells there. So main movie cell dot register, as you can see, and for the identifier main movie cell dot identifier. It will be automatically getting the register and the identifier for us. The same will be happen here, because we are going to getting the cell that we actually customize it. We are not going to no longer use the default cell. We have to make a guard around it, guard let cell, table view, DQ, reusable cell with identifier. Again, that identifier will be our main movie cell dot identifier. So you don't need to add it yourself as the string here, and you have to cast it as the main movie cell here. If it's not possible, we are in the guard statement, so else we just returning the UI table view cell itself to not seeing any crash in our application. So now we have the data. We don't need the cell text anymore, but we have the movie data here. The only thing that we need to do now, just cell, remember we have the setup inside our cell, and the setup is getting the cell view model. Cell view model actually coming from each cell data source that we have. So I'm going to change the name cell view model and pass it here as a return. One more thing inside our table view that we have to add, the height of our table view. So we can determine the height of our table view simply by calling this function height. For row out, we can simply returning, for example, 150. So I think we covered it all. Let's build and see. Here you are. We have our application, but as you can see, we have a background color here. It's red. We don't want it, so let's quickly fix that too. In the main view controller, we have the background color red. I'm going to change it to the system background. And also we don't need those separators there inside the main view controller. We can actually click on the table view, and we can, in the separator style, in the default, we're going to using the none. Also, if you see that when we are clicking on each row, it is changing something. It is changing the background. We don't need to as well. So for fixing that, we just coming back to our table view where we defining the cell, and selection style is going to be none. So let me build the app again and bring it up. Now this is what we have, but what else missing now? The background color is missing, the rounding around the image view is missing. Is that really missing, or we can't see it? So let's go to the main movie cell. Let me see what is missing here. For the image view, we are using the aspect feed, but it's better to use the aspect fill to fill all the surrounding of that. And also, how about the color? We are not specifying any color for the back view now. So I'm going to specifying a color for our back view here. Back view dot background color, I'm going to using the light gray, and then trying to build the app again and bring back the simulator here. So here you are. We have our application now. It has all the images, all the names, titles, and all the things inside it. We can play with the colors, we can play with the font size, everything that we need here, but we are getting the data. We are using the view models to passing the data around. We are creating the cell view model to do all the logics inside the cell view model, and that's it. Later on, we are going to click on each row and open the details page. I'm going to show you when you click on each row how to pass data between one view controller to another view controller view model and inject the data inside that. So till the next time, have a nice day, be successful.